So do you ever get stuck in a black hole when you're watching a video and you just go, oh, that's interesting. What if that's true? I do. It happens quite a lot. But I thought I'd actually go into this one because I found it quite interesting in a very gory kind of way. So today I was kind of bored, so scrolling through Facebook Reels, and I came across this video.
A guy on TikTok, he had a book about the science of your head getting chopped off.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Yeah, listen to this.
I'll show you some more in a minute, but I was watching it, and there's some claims that are said on it, and I was thinking, hang on a second, there's no way this is true whatsoever. And you know what? I was right. And I'll explain why I was right in a minute. But this is actually a really good example of why misinformation gets spread so easily, especially now that social media is king. Well, in our day-to-day lives anyway. Still kicking it, Charlie? So from what I can tell is that this rumour started from a Reddit post. Well, it's been going on for a very long time, but it sort of come to light for this podcast from Reddit post. Someone said, today I learned this. And everyone else was going, ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, that's disgusting. Ah, scary. And then a TikToker that this guy mentions has found this and gone, ooh, this is great. This is some content I can put on and I can tell my followers. And he's not done the right thing where you should just go onto Google for 5 seconds and just give it a look. Just give it a Google to see if it's real or not. Instead, what he did is he went, this person knows what he's talking about. I'm going to make a post as soon as I can, just so, I can get more followers and get more likes, get some more money. So from doing that, this TikToker has now spread this misinformation. There was a point where he could have stopped it, but instead he's continued it. And all of his followers have started watching it. And anybody on the FYP scrolling around, not minding their own business, if they're into that sort of thing, they come across it and they go, oh my God, this is brilliant. I can put this on my podcast and get more views, get more likes, get more money. Which is what this guy did. And this is another point where he could have gone in and he could have gone, wait a second, I've seen this TikTok. This is interesting, but I'm just going to make sure it's real so I don't mislead my followers. Well, then he didn't. He just decided to blurt it out. It's a talking point, why not? But I don't know how many followers these guys have, but he's spreading misinformation. So now the people who watch him are going to be like, oh, this is really interesting. I'm going to tell all my friends because it's an interesting point. But unfortunately, it's false. And that's a big problem. Anyway, now I've said all that, let's carry on watching it.
The blinking guy?
Yes, that was in. He talked about that. Have you heard this, Lil?
I don't know.
So there's this the scientist during the French Revolution.
French Revolution.
There was only one French scientist beheaded in the revolution, and that was Antoine Lavoisier. I really hope I said his name right. He was quite a significant guy. He's kind of known as the father of modern chemistry. He was the one that discovered the law of conservation of mass, and he also is one of the ones who realised that oxygen's what combusts in fire, as well as what oxygen's used in respiration. So fundamental things in science, really. Important person.
He was sentenced to death by guillotine, and he told his assistant, when my head gets... pick up my head, and I'm going to blink as many seconds as I'm conscious to blink. He blinked 15 times.
Oh my God!
In fact, he didn't. And this is where the misinformation is. There's no actual evidence that this occurred whatsoever, that he even asked his assistant or anything like that. The crowd was too far away to be able to see his eyes blink, and the only people close enough to actually lift his head up in time would be the actual executioner itself. Supposedly this story came from the Discovery Channel in 1990, a time before the internet was, out there and viable for everybody. Now that I fact-checked that, it's time for the black hole that I went down. So consciousness after being beheaded has been a thing in our minds supposedly for a very long time, ever since beheading became popular as a form of execution. So some people thought that execution was a quick death. Dead. It means that you're just gone. No pain, no anything like that. It makes the rich and the elite exactly the same as the poor. You all die in the exact same way. It's nice and quick and easy. But there's some people who thought, hang on a second, maybe it's not. Maybe you're conscious for a few seconds afterwards, and it's like incredible agony. So to test this out, in the 1700s and 1800s, some doctors went a bit crazy. From this, you got some doctors beheading criminals and then mechanically messing with the exposed spinal cord to see if they pulled any grimaces or anything like that. You had several criminals being beheaded and then medical students, which makes sense, shouting at them to see if they pulled funny faces. It had all sorts of weird and wonderful tests that the doctors did to see if, you retained consciousness after you'd been beheaded. And to be honest, it's really hard to know if they actually retain consciousness after being beheaded. They still respond to pain stimuli, but when you die through other methods, you still respond to pain stimuli, even though you are technically dead. So this could just be some very base instinct that our body has to try and get away from pain. It doesn't technically mean that it's actually consciousness making this happen. But a stack of other really cruel, really horrible experiments that occurred on a lot of animals. Unfortunately, to this day, we still don't seriously know whether you could retain consciousness after you, are beheaded. But just in case, we decided to move on to different methods of execution or to hold back from execution completely. It was interesting though, because there was one suggestion where they changed beheading to drowning because supposedly that was the better, more humane way of dying. Some people have really weird minds. But yeah, that was the black hole that I went down. The blinking guy, not true. As is the one where two guys' heads were put in the same basket, one bit the other's cheek and stuff like that. It's just not true. There's no evidence to say this whatsoever. Anyway, I hope that you have a really nice day. I hope I haven't grossed you out too much. Black holes, man.